Hello there, Veena here from digitalaccesspass.com, and in this video I'll show you how you can configure SPC to send out an email notification whenever a user declines GDPR terms on your checkout page. Now SPC will only display GDPR terms section on your checkout page. Number one, if you have configured SPC to do so. Number two, if the user is from a GDPR country, the GDPR terms section will not be displayed to non-GDPR users. So in this video, I will show you how you can configure SPC to send out an email notification to you whenever a user declines GDPR terms on your checkout page but goes on to complete the purchase. So SPC will send out an email notification whenever that happens. But if you want to disable that configuration, say you do not want to receive an email notification every time someone declines the terms on your checkout page, then you can disable that configuration. So in this video, I will show you everything from start to finish. So number one, visit SPC EU settings page. You can access it from here on the menu, or you can access it from here under SPC EU VAT GDPR. So when you click on that, you're going to arrive on this page. Now there are three tabs on this page. The one that you need to click on for GDPR stuff is GDPR EU list tab. And on this tab, you're going to find a couple of settings. Number one, do you want to enable GDPR? So even if you have enabled GDPR terms on your checkout page, it's not going to show up if you have not checked this box. So be sure to check this if you want GDPR terms to show up on your checkout page. Number two, we have also added a new option in SPC to send out an email notification whenever a user declines GDPR terms on your checkout page but goes on to complete the purchase. So they complete the purchase but they decline whatever terms you have on your checkout page. If you want to receive an email when that happens, you can check this box. By default, this will be checked. So if you have GDPR enabled and this box is checked, you are going to receive that email whenever this happens. If you don't want to receive an email, you will have to go to this tab and uncheck this box. Otherwise, you will receive an email. Also, one thing you can do is GDPR stuff is only going to show to users that are from GDPR countries. So if you are testing and your country is not in this list, then you're not going to see the GDPR terms on your checkout page. So for testing purposes, what you can do is you can add your country to this list, and then when you're done testing, you can remove your country from the list, or you can just mark the status as off. All right, so now let me show you how you can create a checkout page in SPC with GDPR terms enabled, how you can customize the terms, and how you can test it. And I'll also show you the email that you're going to receive when someone declines the terms. So first, visit the EU settings page, click on GDPR EU list tab, and make sure these two checkboxes are ticked if you want to receive an email notification when user declines terms, and also if you want to enable GDPR for your SPC site. After you do that, click on checkout, go to the manage checkout page, and on this page, you will find a list of all of your checkout pages that you have already created. If you want to edit a checkout page and add GDPR terms to it, you can click on this editor icon to do so. Or you can click on add new checkout page to add a new checkout page in SPC. So when you're adding a new checkout page, the first step is to give your checkout page a name. The next step, select a payment method. Next, one step or two step checkout. You can use whatever method you want to use for your checkout. Select a checkout template. You can use any one of these fully mobile responsive templates that SPC comes with. And customize template tab is where you can customize the look and feel of your checkout page, add additional fields, remove fields, and also you can add GDPR terms in this tab. This is my checkout page, and I have added GDPR terms here. So what you can also do is you can make the GDPR terms required. So what this means is if they don't accept the terms, they will not be allowed to purchase at all. But if you don't want to do that, if you want to allow them to purchase, then in that case, just make sure that GDPR is enabled, shows up on your checkout page. You can click and edit the terms. You can add a link to your privacy policy here. Do whatever you want. Everything that you see here is click and edit. So if the users accept the terms by clicking on this checkbox on your checkout page, in that case, in DAP, the GDPR status of the user is going to be GDPR consent yes, and that way none of the filters for GDPR will be applied to that user because the user has given you full consent. But if the user decides to not give you the consent and does not check this box and completes the purchase because you have not made it required to give you the consent, in that case they will be added to DAP. But all the filtering rules that you have set in DAP for GDPR will apply. Meaning if you have set DAP to not forward the user information to your email platform, DApp will not send it. If you configure DApp to not send out any autoresponders or broadcast emails to this user, DApp will not send it. So if the user does not give you the consent, then all of those rules will apply to the user. In addition to that, the new feature that we have added to send an email notification to the admin when a user declines, that will be applied too. So if a user completes the purchase, does not give you the consent, does not check this box, in that case, you will receive an email that will notify you that a user completed the purchase but did not give you the consent. All right, so after you create a GDPR-enabled customized checkout template, then go ahead and create a buy button for your product. If you already have a buy button, then you don't have to do anything else. You can just go ahead and test it, and the GDPR section should show up. If you're testing it from a GDPR country, or if you have added your country as a GDPR country for testing purposes. So now let's go ahead and test it, and I'll show you what happens if a GDPR user does not give you the consent. I'll also show you the email that you're going to receive if they don't give you the consent. So this is my SPC generated order form, and say that a GDPR user, a user from a GDPR country, visits this page. They see this GDPR section, and they decide not to give you the consent, and they go ahead and place their order. So as you can see here, I have received an email that notifies me that a user that was trying to purchase something on this page, it also sends me the page URL, the SPC buy link, where the purchase was being made. So this user was trying to make a purchase and does not accept the GDPR terms, but the user is from a GDPR country. And so I have received an email, and the subject line says SPC GDPR decline notification. Also, this email will get sent to whatever email address you have configured in the DApp setup config page in the general settings in the from email ID field. So whatever you configure here, that's the email address to which this notification will get sent. And also, if you visit the edit member page in DApp, and you can get to the edit member by going to manage member, find the user and click on their name, it will bring you to the edit member page. And you can see that this user's GDPR status is set to no, meaning this user has not given you the consent, and the date and the time they declined to give you the consent, that's also recorded here. So that's it for now. I hope this helps. My name is Veena Prashant. Thanks for watching.